Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar on what's new in Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2013. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Tammy Johnson and I'm based in Northern California. I'm actually in Santa Rosa, north of San Francisco. I'm a solution architect with Socius and I work with our salespeople and account managers to craft and demonstrate solutions to both new and existing customers. My focus is on Dynamics NAV, Dynamics GP, and Dynamics CRM, so I'm going to apologize ahead of time if I say the wrong product, if I use the wrong letters at some point. So let's do a little housekeeping to begin with. Everyone's on mute. If you have a question, you can go ahead and enter that in the little question box that you see in the GoToMeeting panel or the GoToWebinar panel. We do have a pretty full agenda today, but we'll try and take questions. If we don't get to questions, we'll definitely take the question and follow up with you individually as well. I will provide you with my contact information at the very end of the webinar, and you can feel free to contact me directly if you have any other questions or anything you want to talk about. All right, so that's housekeeping. Let's move on to our agenda. As I said, we've got a pretty full hour here, so these are the things that I'm planning on covering today. Obviously, I can't cover everything about what's new in NAV 2013, so I've just kind of picked out a few things that I thought were significant, including some new capabilities that have been added. So first we're going to talk about perpetual licensing. There has been some licensing changes, so I want to make sure you at least have a basic idea of what that means. We're also going to talk briefly about the NAV web client, which is a new interface for accessing NAV. We're going to look at some productivity enhancements and also some collaboration enhancements. Just kind of general things that'll make it easier for you in using NAV 2013. We'll talk I usually don't go into a lot of technical detail. I focus more on the application, but there are two significant kind of behind-the-scenes things that have changed that I think will help you a lot in the way that posting happens to the GL and also the way that dimensions are stored. And then we're going to look at three new, they're really new capabilities, new functions within NAV 2013. Cash flow management, cost accounting, and assembly management. We're going to look at those three new capabilities today. And then we'll talk about charts and also some new Excel integration that's kind of nice. So with that, let's get started by talking about perpetual licensing. So instead of a big long price list with a bunch of little check marks that you have to make next to each table or granule that you're using, there's now licensing has been streamlined to the point that there are only 4 things on the price list. There's what's called the starter pack. And then there's the extended pack, and then there's some configuration and development, additional tables and things like that, and then users. That's it. That's it for licensing. So with the starter pack, you'll get 3 users, as well as the functionality that you'll see on these next few slides. It's you know, I don't want to say basic financial management because it's not basic, but it's financial management, the ability to manage resources, some CRM, customer relationship management, NAV customer relationship management, some tables and things like that, as well as quite a bit in the supply chain area. So again, this is the starter pack. And continuing on with basic human resources and some some additional areas as well. Now, keep in mind that within the starter pack, or for perpetual licensing, you will need to migrate to perpetual licensing in order to upgrade or to use NAV 2013. So new customers would just get NAV 2013 using this perpetual licensing model. Any existing customers would need to migrate to this new licensing model. The new capabilities that I'm going to show you today, I'm just going to go back here. Let's go back one. Cash flow forecast is part of the starter pack. And so is assembly management, somewhere in here, there it is a part of the starter pack as well. So those two that we're going to talk about are part of the starter pack. There's also, I mentioned the extended pack. This is the extended pack, so you get it adds to what you get with the starter pack. So you get all the starter pack capabilities plus additional financial. Notice the cost accounting is in the financial management extended pack. Jobs, so that's important. A lot more in customer relationship management, including tracking to service orders and things like that. Additional supply chain functionalities, more of the warehouse management capabilities, and then manufacturing. So, you know, more capabilities, obviously, and then it's, you know, the additional cost for the extended pack. Those of you who are existing NAV users today, keep in mind you're not going to lose any functionality. You'll probably, when you migrate, you will gain capabilities as you move into NAV 2013. You'll get more. So I know that was a kind of a quick run-through of perpetual licensing. If you want to know more, you can always speak with your associate account manager or consultant. You could also type the Dynamics NAV 2013 Product Capability Guide into your browser, and you'll get a PDF. It'll return a PDF that gives you all of the details about each line in those capabilities. Obviously, we don't have time to review it in detail today, but it's certainly out there and available as a resource. Customer source is always a good place to find information. So there are ways that you can find out more about what's a part of that perpetual licensing. Okay, so let's talk about the NAV web client. And so this is just a screenshot of the, it's the order processing role. It's the role, the NAV web client using the order processing role. Now you'll see it's actually the exact same data set and everything that we're going to be using for our live demos today. So you'll see things are, you know, laid out the same. Couple of things to keep in mind. First of all, if you're using the web client, there's no, I'm using my finger quotes here, no client install. So you don't have to install anything on your workstation. There is an NAV web server component that you would need to install and administer. But that's on the server side. And then any personalization, so I'm going to show you a little bit about personalization today. Any personalization that happens has to happen in the Windows client. So it has to happen in that desktop client, and it will flow through to the web client. So you really can't do much to customize the look and feel of the web client. It has to be done through the Windows client, and then it flows through. So this is the home, the Role Center home, and then I just wanted to show you a list, what it would look like using, you know, a list in NAV. So that's still the web client. All right, so let's move on here, and I am going to just bring up NAV here, and we're going to talk about some of the productivity enhancements that are a part of NAV 2013. And the first thing that I want to point out here is this search box up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into that box and I'm just going to type orders. And it gives me a list of everything with orders in it. So I know that, so these are list forms as well as filtered lists. And so you can actually see that same list right here in my navigation pane on the left. But I'm just going to pick this. So from anywhere in NAV, I can type in a keyword, and it's not, it's not that you need to know anything technical. If you want to go to orders, you type orders. If you want customers, you type customers. If you want items, you type items. So, and it'll give you a list of everything. So, so this used to be called the action pane, and it's now called the ribbon. So we're starting to see, that standard Microsoft terminology. So here's my ribbon, and I've got multiple menus here, and each one of them supports a ribbon, and you can actually customize this ribbon. If you don't need to have, I don't know, statistics, you could pull that off if you wanted. All right. So if I want to do a filter now, if I want to find something specific in this list, I can just either do an F3 or just click right into this filter box, and then I can choose what I want to filter on. So maybe I want to see this list by location code. So I'm going to filter by location code, and I'm just going to type in blue. And when I tab off, it gives me then everything that's designated as the blue location. So this can be, you can see what your options are here. Order number, customer number, external document number, shipment date, orders that we want to ship, requested delivery date, orders that we want to have delivered today. We could certainly, pull that information through really quickly and really easily, just using this filter. And then I just clicked on the X, and that expanded it. Now keep in mind, additional filtering capabilities available as well. So we're looking at all the open orders through to 1/22/14. Okay, so we're going to pick this first order here. I'm just going to open that up. And here's an order for the Canon group. I have my fast tabs here, and I can just roll these up if I want to. You can see the different categories that I have, and general information on top of each one. So this way, I have focus on what I want to focus on. I don't have to worry about things that I don't care about. What I want to do is I want to expand the lines here, and we're going to focus on this for just a minute. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to highlight these first two lines, the bicycle and the bell. And I'm going to right-click. And now I have the ability to copy these rows. So I can, if I have additional, maybe I want to copy them and then pull them from another warehouse or something like that, I can copy these and paste them right back into the order. Now, one thing I want to point out here is when we're working with Word and Excel and things like that, when we want to do a copy, we're used to doing a Control-C and then a Control-V. In this case, if you're going to use your keyboard shortcuts, you're going to have to use a Control-Shift-C and a Control-Shift-V. So keep that in mind. I'm just going to choose to copy these rows, and then I can right-click and I can paste them, and I'm probably up. I'm way out of stock on my bicycle here. So I'm just going to say no. We don't want that. That's fine. Yep. So you'll notice that I've got some validation errors here. So this is new. All of my errors are going to be reported at the top. And then as I'm clicking through, it's going to take me through each field, to resolve whatever issue it is that I want to resolve. Now I can also just do, if I want to clear this out, I can just do an F5, and it's, notice it just removed that item from my order. So it cleared out the line for that order. I'm actually going to delete this line here as well. And I could delete multiple lines. So as I could copy multiple lines, I can also delete multiple lines. All right. So when we talk about some of the personalization that we can do, I'm going to come up here just to my application menu, and I'm going to choose to customize. And I want to customize this page. And so what it's showing me, I'm going to do the fast tabs here. Now, if you look here, this is going to conform to all of the fast tabs that I have, and there's a couple more that you can't see here. But these are all of the fast tabs that I have available to me here. I can remove them from the screen, so if I don't have, you know, foreign trade or something like that, I could move that right off the screen and not even have to deal with it. I want to customize this fast tab. And so here's everything that's on this screen. Now, you'll see that the things that say promoted are what's going to be, and standard are what's going to be showing up on my screen here. And if I want more, then I would click the Show More Fields, and that would show the additional information. As well, the promoted is actually what shows up on the top here in the band when I minimize it. So what I want to do is I want to move that external document number field. Maybe that's something that's really important in my process. And so I want to move it up on the screen, and I want to put it maybe right under this cell to city. And so I'm just going to move this up. And there we go. It's under the cell to city. So I'm going to click OK. And when I click OK again, my page or my form will refresh, and you can see my external document number here. And so now I can just type into that and continue on. Now notice these are the fields that were promoted, and so my external document was one of those promoted fields. So now I can see that here. So as I'm opening and closing these fast tabs, I have a reference to what's on that tab already, what's important to me to be able to view as I'm maybe, you know, just moving it around through the document. So I'm going to do a little easier example here of an error message, something that might be clear for you to see here. I'm just going to change this salesperson code to something that doesn't exist. So now you can see, and I'm just going to like move way off of that. So I'm down in the lines now. It's giving me an error here, and you saw how if there's more than one that they stack. So, but I've got one here, and so if I say, well, wow, what is this error? It's going to take me right to that field. And then I can maybe go through and pick the appropriate one, or I can even, let me change this back to TJ. As I said earlier, I can do an F5, and it's just going to send it back. Clear the error and clear the error and put it back to where it started. So it's really easy for you to see what exactly you want, what exactly the error is, and also where it is on the form and what you need to do to resolve it. We saw the promoted fields here, right? Those are the promoted fields. These are just the standard fields, and then we have additional fields. So you'll see this on the fast tabs. You'll see this show fewer fields, show more fields. You can change those. So if, you know, campaign number, opportunity number, responsibility center was important to you, you could move that further up and promote it, or make it standard so that it shows up just by default on the screen here. All right, so that is just some of the productivity type enhancements. There are a couple of other things that I want to mention here, kind of in the area of collaboration. You'll notice that we've got here OneNote integration. So I can just go ahead and push that button, and it's actually setting up a note within Microsoft OneNote, a link to this list, and with focus on this particular order, this 1001 order. So keep that in mind. Now, OneNote is it's a note-taking and potentially collaboration tool as well. So If you're working on an order for a customer and there's notes and information that you want to keep track of in OneNote, maybe for non-NAV users, you could do that and then have a link to right back to the document as well. And I want to get rid of this, so let me close that. There we go. We also have the ability to do some linking just in general. So actually, let's do this. Let's open up that order again, that 1001 order. And I actually want to link, I want to copy a link to this page. So if I do that from Word, from Excel, from Outlook even, I can have a link. And I'm going to close the order here. And then we're going to open it through the link. So I'm just going to click the link. And there's my order. So you can embed these links in documents, in PowerPoints, in anything, and it will take you right to that link, that page, that order, that list in Dynamics NAV. As well, I can, for any document here, so here back to my order, you can see there's some documents. I can just drag files in there if I want to. I think I have one sitting here on my desktop. So this is my script for what we're doing today. It's just a PDF. So here it is, what's new in NAV 2013. And then I can launch it from there. Or I can delete it, which I'm going to do. So you can keep track of all of your documentation here as well. All right, so that is the productivity as well as the collaboration enhancements, some of the key ones that I thought were important. So I'm going to come back to my deck here. There's a couple, I mentioned there's a couple of technical things that I wanted to go over with you, kind of things that happen behind the scenes that I think are really relevant. And I think you'll notice a big productivity or performance change in especially when you're posting in NAV 2013. So the first one here is the GL entry table locking redesign. So those of you who are on NAV 2009 and prior, you know that when you go to post and someone else is posting at the same time, if they went first, you have to wait. And sometimes you have to wait for a while. And the reason for that is because in prior releases, the GL table was locked at the very beginning of the posting process. So you can see this GL lock at the beginning in that top bar there, that red GL lock. Now if you follow it down, it continues to be locked all the way through the GL posting. So the GL table gets locked in all sales and purchase posting regardless. So that's what happens in 2009 and prior. NAV 2013 changed that. That process changed. So if you look on the bottom bar there, if you follow, you don't see the GL lock until almost the end of the posting process. And so what that means is your posting is going to be a lot faster. And actually, if you look at the statistic at the bottom of the screen there, in NAV 2009, the GL was locked more than 90% of the time during a sales or purchase post. More than 90% of the time. So that means more than 90% of the time that people are posting, that table's not available. And that's going to prevent others from doing posting as well. In NAV 2013, the GL is locked less than 10% of the time during a sales or purchase post. So that is a significant increase in performance, and you will notice that, no doubt. The other thing that I think will increase performance as well is the way that dimensions are stored and ultimately posted in NAV 2013. So if you look at the table here, prior to NAV 2013, when you assign dimensions to a transaction, each dimension value is stored separately. So when you go to retrieve that, it needs to look at each one of those separately. When it posts each one of those separately every single time that combination is used. In NAV 2013, there's this new concept, a new table actually added called a dimension set table. And this is nothing that you have to really worry about because it's happening behind the scenes. But what happens is the first time that a dimension combination is recorded and posted on a transaction, the system will create a value and assign a dimension set to that combination. And in the future, when that, and the dimension set references the combination. In the future when posting is done and also reporting, so in the future it's only going to post that dimension set. It's going to retrieve that dimension set. It makes things faster. So we're retrieving one thing rather than 3, 4, 5, 7, however many dimensions you're using. So again, performance enhancements, and I think these are really things that you will notice when you're using NAV 2013. All right, so let's talk about some of the new capabilities that have been added. And the first one I want to talk about is cash flow management. Keep in mind this is available in the starter pack. So this is one of the things that in NAV 2013 you would have access to. What it allows us to do is create cash flow forecasts. And, you know, we can do that with account schedules, and we can do it in Excel using dimensions and, you know, accounts and things like that. But what this does is it actually pulls from the subsidiary ledgers. So it's going to pull your receivables. It's going to pull your, you know, what to do for receivables. It's going to do pull your payables due. It's going to look at your liquidity based on what's defined in the general ledger. So it's pulling from all of these subsidiary ledgers, and it's also then allowing you to record manual revenue and expenses for things like, you know, outsourced payroll or, you know, rental income or things like that. So I've got just a slide here that shows the workflow process for cash flow management, and it really, where you need to pay attention is in the blue areas. So we set up our forecast, and the process is you create the forecast, you suggest the cash flow, you register the entries, and then you do your reporting. And notice the to the left there, it's pulling from those other sources. All right, so let's take a look here at cash flow management. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, let's go back to our role center, and I'm going to go into my departments here. And in the financial area, you can see here's the cash flow. So the first thing that you do is you need to define your cash flow accounts. And these are different than your general ledger accounts. You can see I've got 010, 040, typically not things that I would use in my general ledger as general ledger accounts. And notice it says chart of cash flow accounts. I'm just going to double click on this and get back to the card here so you can take a look. This source type is important. This is telling us where to pull that information from. So in this case, we're pulling receivables. So it's going to look at receivables and pull in based on the parameters that I define in my forecast. It's going to pull receivables. So you define this cash flow chart of cash flow accounts, and then you also need to create a forecast. And I'm just going to, you can have as many as you want. And notice I've got a little fact box over here with some information about where I am in my current cash flow. What I need to do is to update this. So this is not going to be updating automatically. You need to actually pick a point in time and create the results that you see. And it's based on what you've set up. So it's a process that you need to run. And so you generate your cash flow worksheet, and it's going to suggest these lines based on what I have set up. So you can see here's receivables, here's liquid funds, and so these are all source types, payables, purchases. And once I have this information here and I'm comfortable with it, I just need to register it. And so that's what's going to update that cash flow. That's what's going to update the information here, as well as make it available for reporting. So in addition, I mentioned that you can also do revenues and expenses. So I've got some journals already here. So we've got a rental, fixed assets, maybe our financial assets and private investments. Also different expenses that might be involved here. So, I would just need to post these in order to make them relevant to my cash flow. And then the reporting, I'm going to do this. There's a number of ways that I can do it. Most commonly, you're going to be doing this through account schedules. So let's take a look at what this might look like. So here is my cash flow. And just, normal account schedule stuff. I can drop it out into Excel if I want to. It looks a lot better than it does inside of here. Here we go. Come on, Excel. There we go. So you can see, here's my cash flow. And so it's pulling all of this other information from my subsidiary ledgers in Dynamics NAV. All right. So that is the cash flow. Let me get back to, so the other, one of the other new areas is cost accounting. And what this does is it kind of provides an additional ledger to allow you to analyze costs outside of the way that you would normally analyze them. So you might be posting to departments or cost centers using dimensions in NAV. You can actually kind of break that down even further. You can find out the types of costs that are incurred, where do they happen, and who is responsible for those costs. And so here's the kind of the breakdown here. Now, a cost, you'll see this reference to cost centers. Those are typically departments. They don't have to be. It could be locations. And then cost objects, they might be products, they might be projects. That's something that you would need to determine. But it uses those concepts. Transfer the costs in from the general ledger. Update the cost journals. Allocations, that's important. So you can further allocate those outside of what you're doing in your general ledger, and then do your cost reporting. So let's take a look at that. So your chart of cost types kind of relates back to your GL. So you can see here's your GL account range for those cost types. There's also, I'm going to come down here into setup for just a second here, cost centers. And you can see in my example, my cost accounting dimensions, my department is my cost center, my cost object is my project. Yours might be different, but that's the way that I have mine configured. So then we need to, once we define the dimension that we're using, we need to actually build our chart of cost centers. Again, kind of like your chart of accounts, it looks similar, but it's just pulling in the different dimensions and then determining how I'm going to use those in my cost calculation. As well, we want to wrong one. We want to pull in our cost object. So remember, for me, these are projects. This is my project dimension. So this is accessories, and it's a cost object. Again, very similar to your general ledger chart of accounts. Now I can also do allocations, and these can be based on, let's see, by number of employees. These can be tiered. They can be based on a percentage, or it can be like a unit, a statistical amount. And you're running these. These aren't updating your general ledger. These are only happening in your cost accounting ledger. So when you process these allocations, you're not affecting your general ledger. And finally, let's get back here to cost accounting. I can also maintain cost budgets. Again, different than my general ledger budgets, but still relevant to what I'm doing here in my cost accounting. At the end of the day, what I want to do is generate the reporting for this. So, and again, this is going to be different than what I would generate through my general ledger, my basic general ledger report. So you can see here's my cost breakdowns here. Material costs, gross profit. These are, and I can drill into these just like I normally can, back to into the information and ultimately into the ledgers, so I can see where this information is coming from. So this particular capability, the cost accounting, is only available in the extended pack. So you want to keep that in mind. Cost, or the cash management, cash flow is available in the starter pack. All right, so one more new capability here that I want to talk about is assembly management. And so this moves it more into the supply chain area. We've kind of focused on the financial area. Now we're going to move into the supply chain. It's light manufacturing. So I'm not going to be creating manufacturing orders and sending them around to my different stations or work centers on my shop floor and recording labor at every section and managing WIP and doing all that kind of stuff. This is light manufacturing. I'm just going to pull stuff off the shelf, put it together, put it in a box, and send it out. This can be done in an assemble-to-stock type scenario as well as an assemble-to-order scenario. So let's take a look. So the first thing that I need to do, I'm going to come up here into my search box and type in items. And I want to look at this item right here, this pen. I'm just going to double click on this and open it up. And you can see here that I have designated this as an assembly item. It has an assembly bill of material. So I'm going to click on that. So here's my bill of material. So when I assemble a pen, I need one base, one cap, one spring, and one ink cartridge. And so all of those are compiled together in this assembly bill of material. So once I've done that, I can go ahead and anytime that I want to, let's do an assembly. So let's look at an assembly order. So it's just a journal. So here's my assembly order here, and I'm making 25 of these. Now, if you remember when we were looking at our order earlier, it had a pen on it. That actually, this is an assemble to order. And when I typed in this 25 to a quantity to assemble, it actually created, I had to click OK, it created this assembly order for me. And it linked it to that exact sales order. So when I go through the process of completing this, when I post this, then each of the raw material components will come out of my inventory. and the finished good will be put into inventory and then automatically applied to that sales order. Now keep in mind that I could make to stock. I could assemble to stock as well. So I'm just putting things on, putting them together and putting them on the shelf. And one thing I didn't mention that I should mention is that my example had only items associated. You could also have resources. So if you had a labor component that you would want, a cost that you want to apply to your assembly process, you can do that. Again, this is light manufacturing, not intended to be a full-blown manufacturing process. And that, remember, is part of the starter pack. So you would just have that capability. All right, couple more things that I want to show you here. So I'm going to bring up some customers. Let's just bring up a customer list. Pretty standard, a list of all of my customers. Now on any of these lists that you see, you'll see in this view area up in the ribbon here, the ability to show it as a list, which is what I'm doing. I can also choose to show it as a chart. And so I need to, let's look at the balance due, and let's do salesperson. Hopefully I'm doing this the right way. And then maybe payment terms. I want to see by payment terms code. So here I can see for each salesperson, so here's my balances due, here's my salespeople, and then here are my payment terms. And I can see, if I hover over this, I can see what each of those are. So in any of these views, I'm able to go ahead and chart these, and I can toggle back and forth, so I can switch as a chart or as a list. So one additional new thing here is on any of these lists as well, I can push this Excel button and drop the contents of that list right out into Excel. Now remember, I can, within NAV, the personalization, I can control those columns too, so I can get it pretty specific to what I want to see. The nice thing about this is, let's do this. Let's watch this this new concepts furniture here. I'm going to come back in and let's open that up. And in my phone number, I'll just put my phone number in there. So I've updated the phone number. I can see it here in the list. If I come out to Excel, it's still blank. If I look up here in my menu, so here's my ribbon and my normal Excel ribbon and my menu. If I click on Dynamics NAV, I have the option here to refresh this. So watch that phone number. There it is. So these are refreshable hooks into the NAV data. You can't write back from here using this function, but you can view. So this is a really good way to provide information out. And once you're here, you're in Excel. So you can do whatever you want here. I want to see only the blue location code or particular salesperson or whatever it is. And so keep that in mind as another option for reporting, using something that you already know how to use, which is Excel. All right. So this is everything that we've talked about today. We looked at the web client. We looked at some productivity and collaboration enhancements, some technical stuff about table locking and posting, 3 new capabilities: cash flow management, cost accounting, and assembly orders. And then we looked at creating charts from lists and exporting those lists out to Excel. So that's the end. If you're ready to upgrade, you can visit our website for more information. You can contact us, contact or email your account manager or your consultant, or you can contact me if you want. There's my contact information, and I can put you in touch with the right people as well. And with that, we have about 10 minutes. Cheryl, do we have any questions?
We don't have any questions yet. Just to remind everyone, there is a questions panel in your GoToWebinar dashboard on the right side of your screen. So if you do have any questions, feel free to submit those at this time, and I can pass them on over to Tammy. I'm not seeing anything coming through, so we might be all right to close.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. And again, feel free to get in touch with me if you jump off the webinar and then decide that you do have a question. And have a great day, everyone.